What's up, guys, and welcome to episode 53 of the Yard Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Randy.
And I'm your host, Konu.
And we've got our producer, Ray, here with us. I want to say have a lot to talk about. I don't know how positive it is, but we're gonna have the best with it. Before we get in it, very quickly, we got Walker Buehler on the mound tonight versus Hoffman, 7:10 p.m. start time. I just hope Walker Buehler does well because, hey, we've seen what the offense is doing. Before that game, Trevor Bauer is getting his, as he would say, at Mickey Mouse Cy Young Award. So we will be seeing some pictures of him getting that tonight. Kind of cool.
That's what he calls it?
Yeah, he calls it a Mickey Mouse Cy Young Award.
Okay, I've seen fans say it, so
yeah. So he went all for it. Like his profile picture is him wearing a Photoshop T-shirt that says Mickey Mouse Cy Young Award winner. So he doesn't care. He just has fun with it. I respect it. So we'll see that tonight, but no reason to waste our time really talking about tonight.
Before we get into that, just real fast, what's one word to describe this past week?
I would probably say it's hard to find one word because I want to say like complete shit. I could go with like ass, shit. Horrible, awful. But
the thing that came to mind is that meme. It just says pain with a bunch of stuff in the background.
Like, that's really about it. But I don't know. We're gonna get into this. We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna see what happens. Those first two games, actually, before I get into this, there's a little tidbit that was on Twitter that I wanted to kind of give some fans. Gail Johnson, however, we lost last night, so we're one win behind, I guess you could say. But through the first 22 games of last year, 2020, the Dodgers were 15-7. Through the first 22 games this year, they were also 15-7. We are currently 15-8 after last night's loss. So it feels really bad, I think, because there's so many losses all at once compared to
like past week.
Yeah. Whereas like last year it was like maybe 1 or 2 win 3, 1 or 2 win 3. And so it kind of just feels way worse this year. But I mean, I think they were on pace for like 114 wins or something stupid like that last year. So glad to know we're still on that pace heading into whatever week we're in, I guess week 4 at this point. But I feel like we kind of both talked about this, not much to go over in that series against the Mariners. The big thing was Mookie taking that fastball off of his arm. Somehow he only misses one game. Don't know how he did that. Good news for the Dodgers, of course. However, he could be battling with some pain. I mean, you don't take a ball off the arm like that, especially someone as skinny as Mookie, and just be like, okay, I'm cool. This has no effect on my swing. I was watching the game with my boyfriend last night, and there was a check swing that Mookie did not hold up. And he told me, he was like, I guarantee if Mookie did not get hit in the arm, there's probably a better chance he holds up that check swing. So
absolutely,
there's a very good reason to believe Mookie's not at his best right now, still coming off the back stiffness as well as that getting hit on the arm. So
and the only reason why he's battling through is because the Dodgers, despite how bad he's doing, the Dodgers still kind of need him because they're just out of bodies right now.
The Dodgers are broken. And I don't mean like they suck broken. Like they're just literally broken. Too many guys on the IL, unfortunate timing. Depth is not as deep as we are used to. So yes, they absolutely need Mookie out there. Besides, we've seen what he can do with his glove. We've seen what he can do on the base path. The guy is trouble anywhere you put him. So I'm just glad he's out there. Dodgers unfortunately lost that win. They got the runs on at the end, got the go-ahead run on at the end. I think Mookie was that go-ahead run. Couldn't do anything with it. So
Seager grounds to a double play, right?
Yeah, unfortunately.
But then again, he hit a 2-run home run to kind of get them in the game. So I mean, can you really be better?
He's just been in a weird situation where he keeps coming up with the game on the line and just unfortunately not feeling it so much right now. He did have that home run last night, so
something to put him back in the game. So
yeah, it can't always be on Seager. It can't always be on Mookie, and
absolutely not.
Kind of how it feels right now. The one good game that came, I mean, I guess you could say pitching wise, the one good game that came was the April 20th versus Mariners. Julio Urias, my God, 7 innings pitched, 1 hit, no runs, 1 walk, and 11 strikeouts, a career high on only 88 pitches. That was wild to me. That was great. Gonzalez followed it up with 1 inning, 0 hits, 1 base on balls. And then we all saw Kenley Jansen and what he did. That was insane in Seattle as well. He hit 97 for the first time since June of 2018. They held the Mariners to 1 hit all game. Dodgers only had 2, but hey, they strung together a double and a single and they got the win. So yeah, I mean, they split the series with the Mariners. Mariners are still winning games, so not the worst thing in the world. Would have liked to have seen them
The
sweep,
Mariners have been
but
sneaky good the last few years. I mean, last year was a short season, but still, it was a lot better than we expected from the Mariners. I think people thought it's going to take them a couple years, but I mean, and it still might, but they're competing now, which is nice to see.
yeah, I was a little surprised to see them come out this year hot. I think we saw a lot of the young talent last year with like Kyle Lewis, guys like that. Taylor Trammell's playing this year. I think that's the team, right? Yeah, he's on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the talent's there. I just think a lot of people didn't expect it for at least 1 or 2 more years. But hey, they're holding up, so good for them. I do think the one thing that everyone, myself included, and I'm guessing you, wants to talk about is that San Diego Padres series. So we're going to kind of take this game by game a little bit. We'll talk about, I mean, performances in whole just as we go. But it was another just kind of battle. We saw the same exact pitching matchups, Buehler versus Weathers in that first one. I was super impressed with Buehler. He has been pretty much on it this season. I don't know if you saw, but before the game, Roberts actually told the media that Buehler worked on something in his delivery before the start and that he expected him to look better on the mound that night and moving forward. Said he felt like his delivery was allowing batters to see the ball a little bit longer in his hand, allowing them to kind of identify what was coming. And whatever he did, it is working, or at least did that night against San Diego. He went 7 innings, only gave up 4 hits, 2 earned runs, gave up a home run, not 1 walk, which is great, 9 strikeouts and 101 pitches for Buehler through 7. So I was glad to see him in that 100 pitch
he
mark.
wasn't even bad at the last Padres game. We was 6 innings, 2 runs. That's not bad either.
No,
he definitely was better this time. Yeah,
it's been a step up, I think, just from what we're used to seeing from him early on in the year. He's showing up very quickly in this, and I think it's been a lot more fun. I don't know.
The best ERA on the team, right?
I think
2.13.
I think so. I want to say that's correct. It looks like Ray might be looking, but I think that
I want to say it's Buehler, Bauer, Kershaw, May, then Urias.
Yeah, Urias went up a little bit. Yeah, he went up, I think, a little bit last night. But I don't know if you saw his average fastball velocity's been a little bit down this year. It's averaging at 95.1 compared to 2020. It was 96.8, which kind of lines up with the rest of his career. That dude came out pumping 97 in the first inning against the Padres. So I don't know if it just took him a few games to kind of get going. Like I said, we're used to him being a little slow. So maybe this is him working that in. And now that he's kind of a few games into the season, he's hitting 97. But he looked locked in that game. Just from every aspect. It was a ton of fun to watch. Because the offense is struggling, he of course had the first hit of the game. His first hit of 2021 was also the Dodgers' first hit of the game in the 3rd inning, because it's just been that kind of night. But what he did on the mound, I loved it. He had 7 strikeouts through 5 innings after only having 12 total strikeouts through his first 3 starts. So he had his stuff working. You're more of kind of like, I would say, the pitcher kind of analyzing guys like this on the mound. Besides the velocity and uptick, like, did anything else stick out, or do you think it was just like maybe some of the like the fact that this was a big series Thursday night game at home kind of pumped up type thing?
I think it was the uptick in velocity, and also that he was getting his fastball up in the zone a little more, because I think previously it had been kind of over the plate, but this time he was getting it up and they were swinging through it. And we all know that his 4-seam kind of rises, so it's hard to get hard to make contact with it in the first place, because I mean his fastball is his money pitch, and I feel like, I mean, it wasn't what we usually see like in the playoffs where it's like 98, but it was good enough. And then he worked off his secondary pitches, so I think he actually pitched really well. I thought he would pitch well. I'm actually surprised, because we all know how slow he starts, but I think he's been pitching really well so far this year, despite some of the struggles he's had. And he's had some struggles with his command and everything, but he still hasn't given up like 5 or 6 earned runs like we saw in spring training.
Yeah, and he's only walked 1 guy so far this year, which is wild to think about.
That's
because
crazy, yeah.
Yeah, because that's just really damn good. I don't care who you are, whether you're, I mean, unless you're freaking,
we expect that from Kershaw.
Unless you're freaking Corbin Burns, who have thrown 49 straight strikeouts and no walks to freaking start the season, which is crazy to think about, because Jansen holds the record with 52 strikeouts to start the season with no walks, and Burns will have a chance to beat Jansen's record this weekend when the Dodgers go to Milwaukee. They have a 4-game series against them starting.
They have to face Burns.
Yeah, because Burns pitched last night.
That's not going to be great.
Yeah, Burns pitched last night, so we're going to be saying him. I don't know when Woodruff pitched, but Dodgers have like 2 more games against the Reds to figure it out. Otherwise, it's gonna be interesting. But Pollock and Noisy went back-to-back in that game, back-to-back home runs, tie it up 2-2. Noisy, congratulations, your first big league home run. That had to be pretty dope in that scenario. Bullpen just didn't seem to really have it this series. We saw the Padres retake the lead off Trinan, gave up back-to-back base hits. He did get Tatis a hit into the double play, but it brought a run home. And I mean, if we're going to talk about defense here, the Dodgers got the bases loaded, and freaking Jake Cronenworth just absolutely made a hell of a play. I will say Noisy hit that one. I was a little bummed out to see fans like getting on Noisy and being like, oh, you suck, like you hit into a double play. And it's like, at the end of the day, like sometimes you just have to give guys their credit. Like Cronenworth made a hell of a play. Noisy did not do anything wrong. Cronenworth played great defense. He did his job, and unfortunately,
Noisy unfortunately hit into a double play, but he hit the ball hard, and I would rather have that happen than watch Rayleigh and Rios swing through every single pitch thrown. So
yeah, there's a lot of that going on. Gonna need to figure that out. I'm glad Beatty's up. We'll talk about him in a little bit, but we need health is what we need. We got Gavin Lux back, but there's too many swings and misses going on in this lineup right now, and that kind of didn't change anywhere. But yeah, they blew a couple chances against the Padres. They left a ton of guys on base all series, ton of guys in running. And actually, I'm going to ask you this right now. How many, if you had to guess, if you looked it up, you could just tell me. If you didn't, if you had to guess how many men they left on base just in the series against the Padres, what would you say?
Left on base. Okay. Even if they're at first, they're left on base technically. So I don't know, 50.
Close. They left 42 men on base in the series against the Padres.
Yes,
that's horrible. That's averaging 10 a game, and they went 8 for 43 with runners in scoring position. So as much as the bullpen kind of blew this one up in a couple scenarios, I just can't help but look at the offense and go, how the hell are you going to win any games when you can't hit with runners in scoring position? They loaded the bases, I don't know how many times against the Padres, like 5 or 6, like 4 times in one game, and just didn't, and I think
nothing to show for it.
Like maybe once. I don't even know if the bases were loaded when Seager did get that hit.
So I was on Reddit earlier, and it says for the last 10 days through April 16th to 26th, the Dodgers have left 82 men on base. Their average with runners in scoring position is 194 with 114 strikeouts. The starting has been fantastic, obviously, but they're just not hitting the ball whatsoever, and the bullpen's been pretty bad as well.
Yeah, the
82 men left on base in 10 days is terrible.
The only reason why this team has still been in it is because of that starting staff.
Starting pitching.
Like that's it. The bullpen's had its moments where it's looked all right. Guys have come in, had good 1, 2, 3 innings, but it's really been the starting pitching. And that was kind of the case even for the Friday night game. We got Kershaw versus Dodgers round 2. They unfortunately lost that one 6-1. So dropped the first 2 to the Padres, but Kershaw, this is still a quality start. At the end of the day, he did give up. Yeah, he did give up 3 earned runs, but I'm good with my starter. If you're going to give me 7 innings, especially against a team like the Padres, give me 7 innings, give up 3 runs. I can work with that.
3 solo home runs, right?
Yeah, it was all on home runs. And my take with home runs is it's one bad pitch, not necessarily a bad night. Sometimes you just get beat. And when it's Fernando Tatis, I mean, it's not something you can get too angry about. The guy can play baseball. It's also just crazy that he hit 2 home runs on the anniversary of his dad hitting 2 grand slams in the same inning at Dodger Stadium. So there was that whole thing like going on. Some people were mad at Kershaw. I just think people are mad at everyone right now. I've got no problem. Give me 7 innings, 3 runs. No, it's a good outing.
Right. And I mean, obviously we've seen better from Kershaw, but facing that lineup again for the second time in a row, they're going to make some adjustments. And so this kind of felt like the Yankee series Kershaw had a few years ago, where he struck out a bunch of people, but also gave up a lot of
like 3 or 4 home runs.
So it was just one of those things. But honestly, I don't feel like he had his best stuff, but I thought he battled through it pretty well. So I mean, I wasn't mad about it. You usually take that all the time because your offense, the Dodgers offense, usually would make that up. But the offense has been so bad, it didn't matter if Kershaw gave it 1 run; it still was too much.
Yeah, I mean, they literally scored 1 run all game. And like, I'm going to give you Darvish's credit. That's a hell of a pitcher
Yeah,
too. Like this, it's not like the Dodgers were facing bad pitching. The Padres have fantastic pitching. I think last time I checked, that team ERA might actually be the lowest in baseball. I know. Yes, it is. Okay, cool. Yes, I'm getting the yes that it is. So there's no shame in the Dodgers not scoring every game. Like not every game, my bad. There's no shame in this happening 1 or 2 games a series, but the Dodgers have to figure out a way to do it. And whether that's playing small ball, which we saw a shit ton from the Padres against us, which kind of leads me into another question. Like we have given up 29 stolen bases and we are 23 games into the season. 29 stolen bases, 5 have been caught stealing. That's bad. And usually like I don't care all that much because stolen bases have seemed to fall out of baseball a lot, but I think teams are learning they can run on the Dodgers because the Padres did it nonstop. I think they had like 15 stolen bases, something insane like that over the first 2 series against the Dodgers, whatever it was. And it's just, it's one of those things that you look at and go, why can't we do this? We know Taylor can steal. We know Betts can steal. Maybe you don't want to do it too much. I get it. But when you can't hit, that might be the time to do it. We've got guys like we kind of talked about this, like Rios came into that game and just looked at 3 pitches down the middle, didn't even like pull the bat off his shoulder. And that was so rough. And it's like, I get it. Guys go through slumps, but when you have that going on, you have to figure out
yeah.
what the hell is going on. And they haven't yet.
They haven't been able to do it. So as far as the stealing goes, it's a combination of the pitchers being slow to the plate and just Smith and Barnes not having the greatest of arms.
Well,
I think Smith
it,
has thrown out batters.
It also doesn't help when Corey Seager drops balls thrown at his glove.
Corey Seager's also dropping balls.
There is that, but yeah.
But I just feel like they don't have like the greatest of arms, and Smith, I feel like already has a hitch in his throw somehow when he first like loads up to start throwing the ball. So it's pretty easy to steal off of him. And yes, Corey Seager. I don't know what to do about him. Like offensively, he can be great, and then defensively, you're just like you hang your head like, really, Seager? That, and then when he's not hitting, the defensive mistakes are pretty glaring, and you can't turn away from him anymore. You can't look past it. So I don't know. It's been a really rough week.
Yeah, I love Seager. I think he's great. Luckily, his bat has been picking it up these last couple games, so you can kind of look at the defensive stuff. Luckily, nothing too crazy these past couple games with him either defensively, so not too bad. But yeah, I would like to see him clean it up, especially if he's not kind of mashing the way he was.
Back to your point with stealing, I think the Dodgers should probably try to look to do it more because yes, Betts can steal. Taylor's fast. Lux is fast, the fastest on the team.
Yeah.
I think Pollock is pretty fast straight line, so maybe he might be able to get some steals as well. There are people on the team who can get steals. You just have to pick the right time. But I would like to see them try more because right now nothing's working. So even if you get them, it doesn't matter.
If you heard the broadcast last night, Hershiser was talking about, it was the bottom of the 9th. Betts was on first. Seager was batting, 2 outs. And he had said, I would like to see Betts steal here. Because here's the thing. If Betts gets caught out, he starts the next inning at second. And you now have one of the best base runners starting the inning at second.
Yes.
If he doesn't get caught stealing, you now have the winning run in scoring position for Corey Seager. And that is something that I would usually be like, no, Corey Seager's good enough. Don't do it. But the way things have been going, I would not have minded that had Betts, because there were 2 outs. Things had not been going the Dodgers' way. The chance of Seager going deep again, like it's just odds of baseball. It's probably not going to happen. I would not have minded Betts because they probably don't assume that's coming there. They're probably thinking there's no way they're running, not taking that chance. I would not have minded seeing that. And if he does get tossed out, like Oral said, he starts the inning at second base, and you've now got the best base runner on the team who just needs to go from second to home on a base hit. So it is little stuff like that that seems to be kind of killing them right now. The biggest, I don't want to say takeaway, but the biggest bummer that came out of that Friday night game was Corey Knebel. He walked Hosmer, and after that last pitch, his arm, elbow area kind of just looked like it went limp on him. Like he just, the whole side of him just kind of went down with it. You could see him shaking his arm. He came out of the game. It ended up coming out that it was a lat strain, no tears, so they don't want to do surgery. They're going to try to recover. However,
it's still going to be a couple months.
It's going to be months. Yeah. So that absolutely just sucks. You and I were so excited for him. A lot of fans were excited for him. He was a very low risk, high reward type guy. They do expect him back, so that is good news, but the bullpen really needed him right now. So that's a major hit there. Not looking forward to that. That's tough.
Canley's out for the year as well. I mean, we already knew that, but he would also really help in this bullpen because he's pretty good. I mean, like we mentioned during the offseason, the Yankees were literally mad that the Yankees didn't re-sign him. So it's the bullpen is going through some tough times right now. Jansen didn't look great last night, but I can't put all the blame on him either because the offense also had a chance and they did nothing.
Yeah, no. And I mean, last night we'll talk about that a little bit more, but Winker's also been a hell of a hitter this year, so it's bound to happen.
The last 2 years,
you can't keep putting the bullpen in these scenarios in the 9th and 10th and go, "Hey, don't you dare fuck this up," while the offense has been screwing it up the entire game. Like, it just doesn't work that way. Like, the bullpen is not in there meant to be invincible and cannot blow a save. They're going to happen, so offense kind of needs to avoid allowing that to happen. Also, DJ Peters did make his MLB debut that game. Unfortunately, did not go well. He struck out. Unfortunately, none of his at-bats went well. He is already back down at the alternate training site. Love the guy, but it's the same problems we've been talking about forever. The hole in that swing is just massive. He loves to chase those high fastballs. So until he gets that under control, I feel a little bit bad about all the hate he has gotten on social media because it's just a tough time to come in. Like, you're expected to produce in this big series against the Padres when a bunch of guys are hurt. So I felt a little bad for him. Hopefully he's not taking it too hard on himself. Probably shouldn't have come up, but because of injuries, they didn't have much of an option. So not upset about it, but I'm glad that he's back down at the alternate training site because it does no good when you bring up young guys and they struggle like that at the big league level very quickly. So on to what was, I mean, my favorite game because we won it, but also just because the entertainment in itself from this game was something else. So before this game, Knebel and Santana, who got his COVID vaccine, were put on the IL. Beatty and Garrett Clevenger were recalled, so they would see some time in this game. But we got Bauer versus Snell, Part 2. Dodgers walk away with a 5-4 win. Bauer kind of doing his thing as he's done all season. 6 innings pitched, 5 hits, 3 runs, 2 earned, no walks, 9 strikeouts, 2 home runs on 103 pitches. And those 2 home runs what would be kind of the spark of conversation about the whole freaking next Saturday, all Saturday night and all Sunday. So good old Tatis, he hit that leadoff home run. And as he rounded first base, he mocked Trevor Bauer covering his one eye. Because as we all know, Bauer was out at spring training doing the whole covering his one eye, striking guys out. And I think it actually started against the Padres in spring training. Yep. So Tatis having some fun. I love it. Good for Tatis. Do it. My biggest thing is, like, as long as you're not actively directing it at the other team or their dugout, I don't see how this causes any problem. He wasn't yelling at Bauer. He was celebrating with his team. Bauer said the same exact thing after the game. Like, good for him. He's celebrating with his team. I've got no problem with that. I think it's fun. He hits another home run because, of course, he did. Tatis, after always sucking against the Dodgers, decided to come into LA and just absolutely destroy them. He ran around first, as he was running down first, yelled at his dugout, "Let's go," whatever, having a good time. Came home, did his, I think, like, crossover his chest, pointed up as he touched home plate, as he always does. Started some new strut thing at third base. I don't know where that came from. I guess that pissed off a lot of fans.
He's been doing it.
Yeah, it's
this whole year.
Yeah, I don't know if it started before this home series, but he definitely did it every home run in LA. So I don't care, like, whatever. I'm sure it's gonna piss people off, but again, who cares? Not a big deal. But on his second home run, he came across and did the Conor McGregor / Vince McMahon / what now Trevor Bauer does, his strut coming across home plate. And
he needs to work on it.
yeah, he does. It wasn't very good, but it had me dying. I was cracking up when he did that. But yes, he does need to work on it, which Trevor Bauer talked about on his vlog. Like, hey, if you're going to go for it, you got to go all out, get those arms out there waving, make it dramatic, make a big deal out of it. So that was a lot of fun. There was more that led into that. We'll talk about, well, actually we could talk about it now since it fits, but, after that game, whether you follow Twitter or YouTube people, there's the YouTuber Fuzzy, also Dallas Braden, who's a former pitcher and does some Barstool stuff, as well as the reporter for the A's on NBC, had posted videos saying, did Tatis peek at Will Smith's signs? Because there is a video, you can obviously tell Tatis is looking down. However, when the video is slowed down, it looks like Smith has already put his fingers up by the time Tatis looks down, but Smith is shifting behind the plate to the outside where he wants the ball to go. So there was a lot of kind of, I don't want to say controversy. I feel like the media might have blew this up more than anyone else did, but Bauer also created a YouTube video about it. Basically saying that it's Bush League, don't look down, don't look at signs that way, yada, yada, yada. And then there's the other argument that is, your job as the catcher is to make sure that doesn't happen. If you watch Austin Barnes behind home plate, that dude stares at every single batter before putting down his signs and before moving behind the plate. And I think there's different opinions. Every catcher, The Athletic did an article on it and brought on 3 different catchers. It was Eric Kratz, Chris Iannetta, and I'm totally blanking on the last guy. And they asked all 3 of them, what goes on here? Basically, all of them said that kind of stuff doesn't happen. If it does, Chris Iannetta said you kind of let the batter know, like, hey, if this happens again, like, expect to take one to the ribs or something like that. I don't think they're going to like sit here and verbally say that out loud now, even though Roberts and Bauer almost kind of hinted at it with their comments. But basically all 3 catchers said it's kind of on Smith to be more aware of what's going on behind the plate and to keep an eye. And if you're going to shift, you need to make sure it's not when the batter is looking at you. So my take on it is, not a fan of it, but it's not illegal, and it is on Smith to make sure that that doesn't happen. I don't think Tatis needs to cheat. I don't think Tatis needs a peek at the sign. If you can look down and see, hey, the catcher's setting up outside, like it's one of those things that's like, it looks kind of lame. Like, what are you doing? Like, anyone could really turn around and look at the catcher if they wanted to and like see where he's positioning, but you don't do that. But I'm not angry at Tatis about it. I don't know how you feel, Konu.
I think it's bullshit, honestly. Dude, you shouldn't be looking at the ground, period. I don't care what you're looking at. I don't care if you're looking for a sign. I don't care if you're looking to see where he sets up. Keep your eye on the pitcher. But yes, it is definitely on Smith. And I brought this up to someone and they had said, oh, you just don't like Smith, so that's why you think it's his fault. And I'm like, no, it's his fault because it's his fault. Look at the video. He looked up after Tatis had looked down. At that point, call time or whatever and regroup. Do another pitch. Set up somewhere else. So it was frustrating because he looked up, saw it, but then stayed outside. And I'm just like, really, Smith? You're not going to call time? Cool. So then my friend was like, oh, well, shouldn't it be on Bauer too? But I think Bauer explained he didn't know what Tatis was doing. So
yeah,
Bauer was just trying to focus on throwing his pitch. Smith should have called time and just did something else. It wasn't a good look. But also Tatis I still don't know how he hit that ball out. It was way outside. Yeah, and he just kind of flung his bat out there and just kept traveling. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I know he's good, but goddamn.
Yeah, especially with that shoulder going away outside the zone, like 2-handed swing. It was pretty crazy. But yeah, I think it could go both ways. Smith, I like I said, I'm not a fan of Tatis doing it. I don't want that to be a thing in baseball people are doing. I do think that's kind of like Bauer said, it's one of those things that'll police itself. I don't think Tatis will do it. before I kind of go into that next really quickly, Ray, you caught a ton kind of after high school, in college a bit, club, whatever you would like to call it. But I wanted to ask you, as a catcher, seeing all of this, kind of what your thought process was.
I mean, yeah, it is Bush League to look at the signs, and this is differentiated from stealing signs at second, because that is, you're supposed to be looking in to the catcher and everything at second. That's fine, but this is like, you're not supposed to guard against the guy straight turning his head at you. And yeah, Smith, I don't mind an early move because technically you're not allowed to call anything from the dugout, which is in the major league. So like the early move isn't that big of a deal in the majors, but yeah, to kind of check that. And I'm sure he was just as confused as what was happening of like, yeah, you should have called time, but not necessarily thought that like Tatis was looking at the location. But yeah, that was just weird.
It's not a common thing, that's for sure.
No, it's not
it's
common
not
thing.
common at all. You don't think of
it. It was very weird. And yeah, and I think too, just look when, I mean, at least for me, looking at the hitter is more so like that's helps pitch calling. Because when I was playing catcher, I could judge which kind of pitches a guy liked based on just his stance and his setup and what he was looking for. So I think that has a lot to do with the catcher's watching, and also making sure that he's out of his routine of like looking at the plate, tapping the plate, and actually looking. Like this is well past Tatis's standing is in his stance. So I think that's different than like, making sure that he's not looking at you while you give the signs. But yeah, it was very weird. And yeah, if he is doing that, it is total Bush League.
Yeah, I think
so. I kind of wonder what Barnes would have did in that situation, because like you mentioned, he stares at the hitter. So
Barnes has like
had he
no
been
shame,
behind there,
yeah,
and Tatis had looked down, I wonder if Barnes would have looked up at him like, "Nigga, what are you doing?"
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah, it would be interesting to see what Barnes does, because Barnes, yeah, he picks a lot of the hitters, but obviously when you're giving the signs, you're looking at your pitcher, and then when you're moving, oftentimes you are kind of looking at your pitcher, just kind of because orient yourself. If you're looking sideways up at the hitter, it's hard to get to the right spot. But yeah, it'd be interesting. It was just very, very weird.
Yeah, it was very weird. Like I'm not sure most people.
It was straight down. It wasn't like he was.
It casually, was weird. Yeah, it was. Yeah, the whole thing was weird. I don't think we'll see it again. I don't know. I don't think it'll happen again. I also think it's on Smith and Bauer to mix it up. Like every pitch they threw was to the outside zone that inning. So it's like, I heard someone else say, like another catcher in that Athletic article was like, well, you guys set him up away the entire time. Like if I was hitting, I would have assumed you were going outside too. Like they didn't really mix it up. He was in there throwing his cutters, but I mean, just
to be fair, that's what's been working from the start of the season. So like, we all know Machado owns Bauer, but he kept going outside with the slider, and Machado couldn't touch it. And I feel like that was what was working the whole game. He made a mistake the first batter of the game to Tatis Jr. He left the cutter hanging over the plate. But after that, it was kind of just like he was, throwing the ball outside, and the Padres hitters couldn't really do anything with it. So it was more of that's what was working. Should they change it up? Probably. But I mean, at the same time, again, it was working. And usually if he was to do that, you probably just think, okay, he's going to smack a single to right center, whatever. I'll deal with that. But
I mean,
Tatis Jr.
And with how hot Tatis was, though, you could probably afford to back him off the plate, because if a ball's 1 inch inside to Tatis, he's flying out there. So make him uncomfortable. Yeah. He had 5 home runs in 3 games. Yeah, that's a guy you need to make uncomfortable in there. He was much too comfortable at the plate.
Also, just the fact like that he hit a freaking cutter 4 or 5 inches off the plate, like basically in the other batter's box. Like I don't know what you're supposed to do at that point. Like that was just nasty raw power from Tatis. I don't want to hang on to it too long, but we did see a little bit of their back and forth on Twitter that was fucking hilarious. I loved it. Bauer quote tweeted Fuzzy's video basically saying, "Hey homie, if you need a peek, let me know. Daddy's got no problem telling you what pitch is coming." And Tatis responded so fast with a tranquilo hijo picture, and it was Bauer his head superimposed on a kid that Tatis had a picture of him holding. So he was basically saying, "Relax, son." It was super funny, a lot of fun. it didn't cause any problems in the next game on Sunday. Tatis hit a home run again. He did not even care to really celebrate because nobody's got an issue with Dustin May. So it was just a good kind of fun thing that happened. But in that game with the Bauer one, like you said, you brought up Machado. Machado has absolutely owned Bauer throughout his career, and Machado just fed him straight sliders all game, 3 straight sliders first at bat, strikeout, throws 5 more in the second at bat, gets him to ground out. So that works, gets it done. We saw a lot more bad umpiring on the pitches, balls and strike calls throughout that series. We saw a lot of really bad ones. There was like that one that I saw from Smith. They had 3 straight 2-out base hits from the Dodgers in the third. They made to make it 2-1 Padres. And there was that horrible call on the curveball to Smith. The ball never even made its way into the zone. It was like 3-4 inches outside coming in from a lefty. So like that doesn't even cross the plate. It just literally never even goes into the zone. And it would have been ball 4 to load the bases.
Yeah.
So that was just another awful.
The umpiring has been really bad almost all year long. And I saw people on Reddit discussing this, and they were saying whether Roberts should argue it and get tossed out of the game. Like you could make an argument that there's nothing to argue since the calls have been bad on both sides. But at the same time, this team just kind of feels lethargic. So, and the players aren't happy with the calls either. So maybe Roberts goes out there, gets animated, gets tossed, and maybe it gives the team some energy. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. But at this point, you got to try new things. So what do you think Roberts should start arguing and stop being so whatever?
Nonchalant? Yeah, I usually am of the type that's like, I think Roberts is important. I think he does more with that team by being mild-mannered, keeping everyone in their kind of what they need to do, a lot of personalities, and I think he's done a very good job at juggling that. I think at this point, though, yes, obviously we're not deep into the season. It's not like some crazy losing streak or anything like that, but I think there needs to be some type of fire. There is no fire or fight in this team whatsoever right now, and to see someone like I was reading something there, see someone like Roberts get hyped up, fired up, out there yelling. We saw Muncy get a little pissed off, had a conversation with the ump. He didn't get tossed or anything like that. But I would have liked to have seen Roberts maybe come out, if not last night. I mean, last night had multiple opportunities to do it. There were plenty in that Padres series. That would have been a way to like fire up the stadium, which was understandably kind of not so hyped up the way the Dodgers have been playing. So yeah, I wouldn't mind it. I mean, it'd be great to get him kind of going and fired up, because you could tell he was pissed off with some of the calls too. Like they put the camera on his face and he was just sitting there like dumbfounded, like, what the hell am I watching?
So like I get it. I like Roberts and him being mild-mannered and kind of just sitting there, just going with the flow of things. But I do want to see a little more fire, because again, this team is just kind of just going through the motions and they kind of need something. So it'd be nice if you would just go out there and get animated, get thrown out, get the crowd hyped up, get your players hyped up, and maybe it'll change something.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it at all. Not really going. I mean, the Dodgers, like I said, they won that one close game 5-4. Tell me if you've heard this before. They took the lead as soon as Snell left the game in the 6th inning. So some October kind of magic happening for the Dodgers there, but that was really the only magic they had, because that Sunday game kind of made me feel like I wanted to die. But May versus Musgrove, the Dodgers lose 8-7 in the 11th inning. Yeah. Let's start.
They had that game in the bag. I feel really bad for Dustin May.
I'm gonna start with Dustin May because I feel awful for Dustin May, and he had a hell of an outing. 6 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 1 run in general, 1 walk, 10 strikeouts, 1 home run on 93 pitches. He went out there and pitched his ass off. A hell of a performance. Was so much fun to watch. Was hyped up, had his command going for him, like getting the strikeouts, wasn't walking a ton of people. He did freaking whatever, the offense, or not the offense, sorry, the bullpen the bullpen. You know what? The offense, this is the game they loaded the bases multiple times, with 1 out and didn't score. So I am pissed off at the bullpen, but again, like, what are we doing here with this offense? I mean,
they still scored 7 runs.
Yeah.
Ew.
They did. Yeah, it goes both ways.
But then at the end of the game, they had like you mentioned, that's when they started loading the bases all the time, and they just weren't doing anything with it.
Yeah, they had in the second inning, they'd only end up with 1 run after getting the bases loaded with nobody out. The thing that sucked is the bases loaded kept happening with like Rayleigh in the pitcher spot on the mound, and
Yeah.
I think Barnes started that. Yeah, Barnes started that game, and it's like Barnes didn't have a bad game. He dropped in that bloop
2 blue
single
singles, yeah.
in the second to give the Dodgers a lead, but like that one time with no outs, so in the second they got the bases loaded, no outs, and only scored one run, and it was like Rayleigh, May, and Betts. Like it's like cool bets, but like Rayleigh and May, not ideal. Like that's not gonna go great there. And then it's like they did it again, and I totally didn't write down what inning, so I don't know why I did that. My bad, but whatever inning it was, Corey Seager led off the inning with a freaking triple, his yearly triple. He only gets one of those every year. It's actually kind of funny if you look at his stats. But he drives home Turner, or Turner drives him home on a single. Dodgers load the bases with 1 out. Once again, can't score. So I've decided that is now what teams need to do to beat the Dodgers. Just load the freaking bases. It's really not that hard. You can intentionally walk and don't even have to throw any pitches. Save your pitcher's arms. Then you'll just either get a bunch of double plays or a bunch of strikeouts. I mean, that's what I would do if I was facing the Dodgers, because shit, you get to the bottom of that order right now. It's not working.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to get into. It's going to be super tough for the Dodgers to score runs just because like Betts and Seager are pretty cold. Seager's gotten his bat going a little bit, but they were kind of cold for a while, and there's just no incentive to pitch to Turner, Muncy, and Taylor, who have been hitting. Because then Smith, who's been ice cold, Rayleigh, Rios, and whoever else is at the bottom of the order right now, just aren't hitting. Like they could pitch around the Taylors and Muncies without no fear because the bottom of the order is not doing anything. Now, Lux did have a 2-out RBI last night, which was nice to see, but it was his first game back. So he could take a few games to kind of get back his timing. Now, I want to say this, though. So Lux hasn't hit well at the majors at all so far in his limited career, but the one thing he has done decently well is hit with runners in scoring position. Now, in his career, he's hitting 212 with an OPS of 631. Awful. But with runners in scoring position, his average goes to 263 with an OPS over 800. Pretty good. Even with runners on base, he's hitting 264 with an OPS close to 800. So if he can continue that, that should help kind of the lineup at the bottom score more runs in those situations. But other than that, what else is there to do? Because
I mean,
with all the injuries, with no McKinstry, obviously no Bellinger, kind of have to use Rayleigh and Rios. Who I don't know what happened to Rios, but I think it's time for him to go back to the alternate site.
I just want to say, let's give Mr. Matt Beatty his credit for somehow finding the ball every time it freaking hit him. I think that was Sunday's game, Saturday's game, whatever it was. Like that dude freaking, took the one off the knee that like freaking lasered off somewhere else and didn't even look like he was hurt. I don't know what was going on there, but I would like to see Matt Beatty in there a little bit more. When that dude hit in 2019, he was very good. He can also play left field. He played 230 something innings there in 2019. So the fact he was not in left field last night actually really bummed me out. Because yeah, I don't know what's going on with Rios.
Who was in left field? Rayleigh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who looked like he almost like blew his elbow out on that one throw. That did not look good. I mean, he made another throw again later and was fine, but yeah. I like Rayleigh. Good for him. I think like I get what you're doing. You're happy. I want him out there. I love to see the guy succeed, but right now we are struggling. I would like to see kind of the best that we've got out Beatty, there.
Even if Beatty, at least he'll take his walks or he'll get hit by a pitch, so at least he might keep the inning going. Whereas I hate to keep harping on Rayleigh and Rios, but they're just swinging through every pitch, and it's not fun.
Yeah, Rios he's just not really having it, and
he tried to bunt last night. That's how bad it was, and the bunt was awful.
Yeah, I mean, hey, he tried. At least what he ended up getting hit by the pitch, so
he did. That's true.
He got on. He made some nice plays at third. I do want to give him that. There were some nice plays at third, so I'm glad he at least had that going for him. But after that game, actually, before we go into that, I want to say one more thing that came into that Sunday game. There was that call from Roberts that a lot of people were upset about when he brought in Rios to pinch hit for Noisy in like the 8th inning, whatever it was.
It was the ninth
inning. Okay. So that one I did kind of bug me a bit. That's like, I get it, pitching matchups, but literally nothing's going for Rios. Like, what are we doing here? There's been a lot of Roberts questions over the weekend, which happens anytime the Dodgers have some bad games.
That was going to be my next question, honestly, is do you feel like Dave Roberts is over managing? No, obviously I'm still pro Dave Roberts because I know what he does with his team and how he manages personalities and everything, but I just feel like he's making too many unnecessary moves.
Yes. It's a yes and a no. It's a yes because it feels like when guys are going, just let it keep going. Like, I wish Santana would have pitched another inning last night. Like, I get we've got to be careful, but when the bullpen needs like a rest, which they clearly needed, like, leave Santana in there for another inning or two. Alexander came in, did his job. It was great. It obviously didn't come back to hurt the Dodgers, but it's like, it's stuff like that sometimes it does. Like the whole pinch hitting Rios for Noisy because of a pitching matchup. Like, sometimes you do have to go with the hot hand. I also get though where
the thing is, Noisy isn't even hot. He swings and misses a lot, but he does have 2 home runs. So
but he at least
I want to see him in there more. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of them was off of Pagan, who was pitching. His first career home run was off of Pagan.
Oh, yeah.
See, that would have been nice to leave him in, but
exactly.
I mean, at the same time, I also get where Roberts is coming from. You can't just be like, all right, F off Rios, like, you suck, we're not playing you, because his job as a manager is to make sure all of those guys are put in a position to succeed, which, like, clearly, no offense, he's not really doing that for Rios right now, putting him in there every single day. But you also can't give up on players. And at the same time, he's only got so much to work with. Like, give me Matt Beatty, but I mean, I agree. Yes, he is over managing. I do think at the same time, like, you've got to work with what you've got. I wish he didn't.
You mentioned you have to work with what you got or work with what he has. And this is where my wild suggestions come into play.
No,
but
let's do it.
Okay, so obviously these things will never happen. And because, like, these players I'm going to mention haven't had a full minor league season. They haven't played single A, double A, triple A. But I would like Michael Busch to be up. It's wild, I get it. But so Michael Busch didn't hit well in spring training, but he's still getting nothing but praise because his quality of bat was good and the contact he made was really good. He's got a simple approach. And he's got a great sense of the strike zone. So this is a guy who has walked more than he struck out everywhere he's been. And he's got damn near elite plate discipline. So even though he hasn't faced his quality of pitching, I guarantee you would get a better quality of bat from him than what we're seeing from certain people. He's just far more likely to make contact. And right now we kind of need that contact. And he just doesn't, he rarely swings and misses. So during the offseason, there were some scouts who said that they legit thought if the Dodgers were open to it, Busch would be the opening day left fielder. So I get it, but he's just someone that I'm super high on. And I think in time you guys will understand why. So some scouts have compared him to Max Muncy because of the power potential and his great plate discipline. I don't think Busch will ever hit 30 home runs like Muncy has, but he's also not going to swing and miss as much as Muncy either. So I think he could handle those situations better than what we're getting from Rayleigh and Rios.
I don't hate it. I think at this point right now, there's a lot of fans that would be like, I don't care, because people are like, oh, send Rios down. And the kind of rebuttal is like, well, who the hell do we bring up? Like, right. There really isn't a ton to bring up.
College players could get through the system a little faster just because they have more experience, because they played a little longer. They had to play 3 years in college. So they get some good competition, probably equal to about single A or whatever. And they're a little further along in their development, so they can move through the system pretty quickly. And I think Busch will probably be on the major league roster next year, to be honest. But I think he's someone that could help right now. I'm not saying he's going to hit 400, but he might only hit 200. But I think he'll come through with the bases loaded, 1 out. He might, even if it's not a hit, he can probably get a sac fly to get a run in, which is kind of important right now.
Right about now, anything besides not striking out or grounding into double plays would be nice. You did bring up Muncy. I don't hate the idea. My biggest thing with that kind of stuff is always a worry of development, of bringing them up too quickly, it messing with their confidence or them changing their approach to try to do too much. But you did.
Yeah, I get it, but I don't think he's one of those that's going to change his approach. I think he's steadfast. He knows exactly who he is and what he does.
I mean, I wouldn't be.
He does it very well.
If the Dodgers did it, I would not be sitting there like, "What the hell are you guys doing?" I'd just be like, "Okay, let's try this out."
I would be ecstatic.
Like right now, nothing's working. So like, let's check this out. Like, oh my God, we are tied with the fucking San Francisco Giants for first place. Like, fuck it.
Well, they're playing well, to be fair.
Let's just no, they are. They're playing really well. It's just a surprise. It's just weird to be like the Giants in first place, not even the Padres. But no, I wouldn't mind it. But it does leave me, and we have to go over last night's game quickly. But really quickly, I wanted to ask, because you brought up Max Muncy. I saw someone mention it on Twitter. The guy doesn't hit a lot. It's either a home run, strikeout, or walk most of the time.
They're not pitching to him, and there's no incentive to pitch to him.
They're
because
not.
The bottom of the order isn't doing anything.
But he also watches a lot of pitches. Because he doesn't, the guy likes to take his walks, and I've got no problem with that. However, I don't think I'm a fan of that being our cleanup hitter. I don't think I'm a fan of a guy who goes in there looking at a ton of pitches to potentially walk as our cleanup hitter, because we saw the bases get loaded too many times with Muncy to face someone like Smith. And then I think this will change once Bellinger's back. I think Bellinger goes right into that cleanup spot. But it was just one of those things that I found interesting. Like, do we need Muncy batting fifth when he's drawing 8 walks in a week? Like, what is that doing for us in the cleanup spot when our cleanup guy, when we've got...
Well, who do you want batting there, though? Because, Smith is hitting. So,
yeah, but he's at least crushing the ball. Like, he's hitting the ball so damn hard.
I remember one hard hit ball, and Machado made a great play on it.
I just know Baseball Savant is, like, all red for him right now. So I that's the thing, is without Bellinger, it is kind of like, well, who the hell do you put there? So I get it. I'm not like upset about it. It is something that someone brought to my attention.
I've seen people say, oh, I would like Muncy to kind of get out of his comfort zone, stop trying to take walks and try to hit the ball. But do you really want him to pick up bad habits just because we're in a bit of a slump?
No, of course not, which is why I'm like okay with it. I don't want him to change his approach. I just want maybe someone else to come up in that situation, because like walks are great, get on, but as our cleanup guy, like that's kind of killing me that you're just drawing a bunch of walks, because right now we don't have the guys behind him.
Would you put Taylor there?
I might, the way he's swinging the bat, like he might strike out, or he might hit a double, home run, single. He's swinging
he's hitting the ball really well.
Yeah, he's like one of the few guys hitting the ball pretty well right now. So
see, that's what I was saying. Taylor, Turner, and Muncy, there's just no point to pitch to them because the bottom of the order isn't doing
you don't have to. Bellinger, McKinstry will change that a lot. Not even necessarily like the freaking cleanup spot, but just having that threat to, you need to pitch to Max Muncy, which is when we'll see Max Muncy do his thing and hit more home runs. But I want to go into last night's game. We'll be quick about this one because everybody already knows.
Also, I got some more suggestions, but let's go really fast.
Urias versus Maile. Dodgers dropped that one 5-3. Before the game, we saw Gavin Lux and Dennis Santana activated off the IL. Mitchell White was recalled from the alternate training site, and he made his 2021 season debut last night. Clevenger and Peters were optioned back to the training site, and the Dodgers take another hit with Price going to the IL for strained hamstring and expected to be out for a few weeks at minimum. So that's not ideal. Price has actually been very good as a relief pitcher over his last 5 or 6 outings after struggling to start the season. Didn't get a great outing from Urias last night, all things considering what he did to the Mariners. 5 innings pitched, 4 hits, 3 runs, 3 earned, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. Wasn't horrible. It just seemed like when they got guys on, they found a way to score.
Because when I was watching without looking at what was going on, I didn't feel like he was pitching that bad, but it just seemed like they were getting timely hits.
Yeah, it was like stringing together 1, 2, 3 hits, and it was bad timing. I guess this is where you can make that argument for Smith. First inning leadoff double by Betts, bases loaded, 1 out. Smith grounds into an inning ending a double play. That I will say pissed me off because Maley had already walked 2 batters in the first inning and he had walked Muncy right before him. And I was very frustrated that Smith swung at the first pitch.
Yeah.
That early in a game when a guy does not have his command, like at least watch the first pitch, especially the way like nothing's going.
My fantasy team says thank you, but my Dodger fandom was not happy.
Yeah, no. I was not a fan of that. That kind of bummed me out a little bit. That's like, and then they get their run later, like you said, with Gavin Lux. Taylor leads off the 4th, 9-pitch, battled up there, blooped in a single. Muncy was hit by the pitch. Somehow they have the first 2 guys on, no one out. Of course, they don't score until they get 2 outs. That's kind of a theme for them. But yeah. Lux, that base hit that Lux had was 106.7 off the bat, which was his 2nd hardest hit of the season, which makes me think that dude's wrist is doing all right. So I was pretty happy about that, to see that. Still striking out on some pitches that you're kind of like, okay, buddy, don't swing at those. But I think that's just going to take time.
The second strikeout, the pitch was in the zone.
Yeah, so second strikeout was nasty. That first one, the high fastball was kind of like, all right.
But see, he's kind of like Peters. He likes those high fastballs. However, he'll get to it more than Peters will.
Yeah, it's all an adjustment period too. He's been out for 10 days, hasn't seen any live pitching like that. He's still trying to make that adjustment. Is like, I still almost look at this in a way as like his rookie season. Like he became unqualified as a rookie last year just because he was on the roster long enough. Like he didn't even get that many at bats, but because he was on the roster, he was no longer considered a rookie. So I'm still waiting for him to get those consistent at bats. You and I have brought it up all the time. We've seen it with guys like Verdugo, other ones, just until they're in there and play a solid 50, 60, 70 games on almost an everyday basis. Like even more than that, like baseball's damn hard. I like Lux. I like what he brings the team. I'm excited he's back. So not concerned there.
Yesterday, the Dodgers posted pictures of him with a fresh haircut. And I was like, oh shit, here we go. I mean, it didn't really work out, but the RBI was nice. He
came through that RBI.
He did, yeah, which was nice. But so I had a friend tell me, he said he wanted Lux to just be like Cronenworth. So I said, okay, Cronenworth is 27. So we'll see how Lux is when he's 27.
Yeah, I think that's what more people need to start looking at to compare is the age seasons, not so much like, oh, it's his first season. Cody Bellinger did this in his first season. Corey Seager, like, yeah, sure. But, and you know what? Like guys like Seager, Bellinger came up young, but let's start looking at like their age. Like Dustin May, we talk about all the time. The dude's 23. He's only going to get better. Gavin Lux, what, 23? 23? Like same thing, only going to get better. He hasn't even hit his prime yet. So like there's still so much working in there. And I can't wait to see.
Just wait till he gets consistent. I mean, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has consistent bats for almost 2 seasons
he's
now.
freaking
he's only 21, but
year.
He's killing it right now.
Yeah.
I mean, he's young, but he's had almost 3 seasons of consistent at bats. So just relax, give him some time. I'm not saying he's going to be Vladimir Guerrero Jr. because Vladimir Guerrero Jr., we already know his peak was ridiculous, but he's going to be a fine major league player.
There's absolutely a reason he was not sent in that trade for Mookie Betts. There's a reason why the Dodgers have held on to him.
And I think Francisco Lindor either.
Yeah,
yes,
I think there is a reason. And I think just like there has been when they held off on trading Seager, held off on Buehler, Bellinger, all those guys, I think this will work out that same exact way. I did very quickly, Mitch White, kind of liked what I saw from him. Got hit a little hard, probably needs to work on his command. He did he did walk 2 in an innings and 2/3, but he only gave up the 1 hit. I'm gonna chalk this one up to anxiety, kind of getting in there. He played last year, he made his MLB debut, and then he was out to start the season with like arm soreness or something like that. So I'm glad he's back in there. They could absolutely use a guy that can go 2-3 innings between him and Santana.
Because the Dodgers don't have any. Before the season started, we were like, oh, Gonsolin and Price can go. And now Price is gone. Gonsolin hasn't pitched yet. So this is kind of where I was going with my other kind of wild suggestions. In like, I think Bobby Miller would be.
I thought you were going to mention my guy and your guy, Josiah Gray. But I love Bobby Miller too. I like him.
So Gray, I feel like he's further along as a starter. So.
Yeah,
But so with Miller, obviously he's being pushed as a starter, but like in spring training, obviously he came out of the bullpen just to pitch a couple innings. So, and I know they're trying to build him up as a starter, but I think like we've seen in spring training and what we've heard from the alternate site, he's got the stuff and he's got that fire that I think could really energize his damn team. He's also someone who can go multiple innings if need be. Now Mitchell White is up and he deserves his shot, but I just think Bobby Miller would be better. My other option was Clayton Beeter, who we've yet to see or hear from at all. But like scouts think he could be a reliever for the Dodgers right now because of his pure stuff. And again, the Dodgers kind of want to use him build him up as a starter, so it probably won't happen. But in the draft, there were scouts saying that Beeter had the best stuff in the draft because his fastball is like in the high 90s, and the scouts said Beeter had the best pitch in the draft, which was his curveball. There were some scouts going overboard saying it was going to be like Kershaw's. Let's pump the brakes here. But I mean, that's pretty high praise. He had really high strikeout rates at Texas Tech. So the reason why like Beeter failed is because of injury concerns, signability, and he has the best chance of flaming out as a starter. But his two main pitches are highly graded already. 2+ pitches, his fastball and his curveball. So I think it'll really work well out of the pen. And I think it would work immediately.
I mean, good news is minor league season starts 1 week from today, I believe. So I do think we could see stuff like that happening. I think it's just hard without an actual minor league season. And like they are out there getting in competitive at bats, but it's like a spring training.
We saw Bobby Miller, a video a few weeks ago pitching against the Brewers minor league system because he struck out Garrett Mitchell.
It's like it's like spring training games. So I wouldn't be surprised if the teams are like, hey, let's get in some competitive games, see how these guys do, and go from there. So I would not put it past the Dodgers to see some things change in the next month, depending on health of players, how things are going, how long it's really going to take McKinstry to get back. And we still don't really know what's going on with Bellinger and when he'll be back. So
did they say how long did they say
they don't
McKinstry
know.
will be out for?
They don't know.
Is it going to be like Lux where he's back after 10 days, or is it going to be longer?
No, they already said
10
more.
days. That's as much as we know.
Fuck.
I got it in our injury updates, which we're actually going to get into any minute. Very quickly to finish off last night's game, Barnes pinch hit, walk in the 7th. Seager comes up with 2 outs, and the Reds bring in lefty Amir Garrett. And Seager decides to just absolutely destroy a baseball to tie the game up 3-3. That would make it his 3rd multi-hit game in a row. I think it's might be okay to say he's starting to find it a little bit. In his last 3 games, he's gone 3 for 16, a triple home run. He's now hitting 375. So if we can get Seager up there banging again, that'd be great. Really need Mookie Betts to figure it out. And I think we'll be in a better situation. So they have now dropped their last 6 of 8. And like I said, they're tied for Giants first. Not too worried about it. I think they'll be good. But one more thing that has stuck out that is very bad. Over the past 9, they have 3 wins. They are hitting 175 as a team, average 2.9 runs per game with a 167, which is 12 for 72 with runners in scoring position and 38 left on base over past 29 innings, according to Bill Plunkett on Twitter. So not great, not what you want. And
didn't Juan Toribio say they're like 2 for 28 the last 2 games? That's not good either.
Yeah. They've left like 28 men in base or some wild shit like that. So not going great there, but you know what? Team's good. There's talent. They'll figure it out. Need starting pitching to just keep doing what they're doing and holding it down until offense figures it out.
So you would like to see Beatty in the lineup tonight?
I would, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't see why not. I'd hope Rios give him a break. Turner's supposed to be back in there. Give me Let me see. Give me frickin' Betts, Seager, Turner, Muncy, or Taylor. Put Taylor in there.
Taylor's gonna be in there,
I guess, Smith after that. Then I'd probably go Lux or maybe Beatty, switch it up so I'm not having like maybe 2 or 3 weak bats at the bottom of the lineup. But
here's also another thing is when I was looking at stuff, Gavin Lux hits the best in the 7th spot so far in his short career.
So throw him there. I don't care. Yeah. That's what, I wouldn't mind. I'm good with Beatty batting 6. Have him 6. Put in
I prefer Beatty batting 6 because Rayleigh batted 6 yesterday, which I didn't understand. But
not a fan of that.
Beatty batting 6 is nice.
But okay, cool. I want to get into our injury updates so we can know when the hell we can expect some of these players back because they are much needed. And we will start with Cody Bellinger, who took BP on the field for the first time on Thursday since sustaining his injury. Still no idea when he'll be back. Obviously, hairline fracture. He said it kind of not feeling too great to run on it. It's basically just waiting for the swelling to go down. He said it's a weird injury. Anyone he's talked to about it has told him, like, you could wake up one morning and it'd be healed. You don't really know what's going to go on. So it's kind of just a waiting game there. As for McKinstry, he was put on 10-day IL with an oblique strain, retroactive to April 22nd. That was how DJ Peters got his call up. Robert said it will likely be longer than 10 days for McKinstry. He will head to the alternate site this weekend to continue rehab when the Dodgers go to Milwaukee. There's still no update on possible return. To be a little bit honest, this one stresses me out a bit because Verdugo went on the IL with an oblique strain, and that's when it ended up turning into him breaking his back because he freaking did not have strong enough core to do that. So my biggest thing is just take it easy. Obliques are always tricky. Don't overdo it with McKinstry. We need him back, but he's clearly proven that we need him for like a chunk of time, not just come back for a couple games and re-injure it. So hope he is back soon. Talked about Knebel a little bit, injured his lat during Friday's game against the Padres. No tear surgery required, but the recovery is expected to take months. Plan is for him to be back at the end of year. We are supposed to be getting Joe Kelly back. Don't know how I feel about it. I like the guy and I hope he does well, but
it said mid-May, right?
Yeah, mid-May. They're not, I don't know where he's at. We're not getting like actual updates on this is what he's doing. They just said they expect.
Well, if the minor league season starts in a week, I'm sure he'll be there.
Yeah, probably. They've like just this whole thing with Kelly, they're just kind of like, he'll be back at some point. We'll let you guys know. And right now that sounds like mid-May. Tony Gonsolin, some good news, started his throwing program. He's been dealing with that shoulder inflammation. However, he's only doing long toss. He is not ready to throw off of a mound. So that's a big one. Really, all of them are big ones because you always want your team at full strength. So don't have an update on David Price. Just know he's expected out for a few weeks with that strain. But yeah, get healthy so we can get back to our fun ways because baseball, my worry is at 0%. I tweeted this last night. My worry is at 0% with this team, but my God, my frustration and boredom is going through the roof. So that's kind of what I'm over. I'm tired of watching these games and being bored. Not worried about the team. I think they'll be fine. Are we good to pass it on to Ray for the MLB news?
Yeah.
All right, Ray, you want to finish us up?
Let's do it. To start, the Pioneer League is experimenting with new rules. The Pioneer League is a former rookie ball league, and the minor leagues is now an MLB partner league. However, that worked with MLB cutting minor league baseball down. They will have a home run derby to settle tie games. So at the end of 9 innings, if the game is still tied, two teams will select a hitter each to face
that's what
5
Justin Turner wanted,
BP
right?
pitches. Yeah, just okay. Justin Turner, and it's sudden death until there is a winner. And they will also have one designated pinch hitter, as they call it. This is a pinch hitter. He can pinch hit for anybody on the roster. And then that player who was pinch hit for can re-enter the game defensively. And then the pinch hitter is ineligible to return. So this is basically a one re-entry, and also the same rule for the designated pinch runner. So same thing.
Real quick, how do you guys feel about re-entry? Because there's re-entry in every sport. Do you guys feel like baseball should have re-entry?
Yeah, as long as it's not. I've always thought it was an interesting thing because yes, every other sport has it. I don't know if I would go as far as like maybe pitching. I don't know. I wouldn't mind seeing it happen. I think it could make for a really wild scenario, like some of the things that could be pulled off. And I think with the Dodgers, it would be very beneficial to us, which is probably why I feel that way. But I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind seeing it being tested. And seeing how that goes first. Like it doesn't.
I'm good with like a one-person re-entry rule. Like if you want to pinch hit for someone who can't hit lefties, just for that one at bat, and then bring him back in.
Yeah, I think there definitely has to be rules to it. You can't just be like, all right, Mookie Betts, you're batting every inning. There you go.
Yeah.
Some minor injury news, nothing too crazy. Not a lot, at least. Juan Soto is currently on the 10-day IL. He is expected back at the end of this week. He had a left shoulder strain, so nothing too serious right now for him. More Padres injury news. Dinelson Lamet is on the 10-day IL with right forearm tightness. He got 29 pitches into his 2021 debut, had right forearm tightness, and they are not doing an MRI because they think it's probably just adrenaline that led to the tightness. So that'll be fun.
If they don't get the MRI, they can't say that anything's wrong and they can keep pitching him. That's their thing.
The Padres hate their pitchers apparently.
Yeah, they've got like the most Tommy John surgeries in the last like 2-3 years out of all organizations. I think you brought that up last week, but yeah.
Yeah. Oh, just something off the top of my head. this is probably last week's news, but Adrian Morejon, the young Padres lefty, he is undergoing Tommy John surgery. That was last week. Yasiel Puig has signed with a professional baseball team, this time in Mexico, El Águila de Veracruz in Mexico. So Yasiel Puig is playing baseball for the first time since the end of 2019, which is, I don't know, I like him. It's just nice to see him on a team. Rockies, yeah.
No, go ahead.
The Rockies general manager, Jeff Rittich, resigned after, I believe, 17 years at the helm of that team.
Rockies, if you need someone, I'll do the job.
Anyone could give the damn job to Dinger. Give it to something.
Just sign all the best hitters and just have home run derby every day. Greg Fiesel was named club president and chief operating officer. He's going to oversee baseball operations going forward right now. A couple interesting records. Shohei Ohtani became the first pitcher to start a game while leading the league in home runs since Babe Ruth did it in 1921. That happened last night against the Rangers. Jacob deGrom broke the strikeout record that was set by Shane Bieber last week of most strikeouts through first 4 starts of a season. deGrom has 50. He did that with a 15 strikeout complete game shutout 2-hitter.
That man is ridiculous.
And also went 2 for 4 that game.
I was gonna say, didn't he like carry the team too and like have the hardest hit balls that game?
Yeah, he had the first RBI of the game to at least get on the board. And then you mentioned earlier that Corbin Burns is 3 strikeouts shy of breaking the record that Kenley Jansen currently has of most strikeouts without a walk to begin a season. He's currently at 49. Jansen sits at 51, so 3 more to break that record. And Madison Bumgarner throws.
The Dodgers?
Yeah, I believe it is.
He's gonna walk Mookie Betts the first at bat.
Break it up. The record's gonna be on the line, and Muncie's gonna freaking be the one to get the walk.
It's gonna be like a 10-pitch at bat.
He's gonna bat 4th, and I'm gonna be pissed off, and then I'm gonna be happy all at once.
And so Madison Bumgarner threw I guess at this point, unofficial no-hitter in game 2 of the doubleheader against Atlanta, where Zach Gallen also threw a complete game 1-hitter. So Atlanta set the record for the fewest hits in a doubleheader with 1. And right now this is unofficial. I mean, what to me it's official. It's you set this games at 7 innings, so it has to be an official no-hitter. Otherwise, I believe Bob Wischusen and VSBN tweeted like they are tacitly admitting that the 7-inning game is not a real game by admitting that by saying that this no-hitter is unofficial. So that's all for it. I'll let you guys go off on the MLB for not counting this no-hitter. As much as it's fun to say Madison Bumgarner technically doesn't have a no-hitter.
It's just like at 9. I mean, I get the argument. I just think at 98 pitches, there's no way he's going those last 2 innings. Like, if you want to give him the no-hitter, that's fine. But
he doesn't have to because it's 7 innings.
I know, but I just like, that's so hard to get 6 more outs. Like, I feel like there's got to at least like give him the no-hitter, but like there's got to be an acknowledgement that it was 7 innings. Like, that's the same.
That's fine.
That I'm okay with. If they want to give credit him as a no-hitter and like have in parentheses 7, 100% fine. Give it to him. Acknowledge it. Say he threw a no-hitter. I'm fine with that. I just want to make sure there's a it's distinguished, that it's not a 9. That's what, just because it is really hard to get that 8th and 9th inning and to get that many pitches. Bumgarner, his arm's been going for so long. I wouldn't be surprised if they had just thrown him out there and said, kept going, like, screw it. But no, I mean, hey, good for him. He's been sucking. So at least the Diamondbacks are
like, I know most people are talking about the Dodgers on the cold streak because the Dodgers are World Series champions. But can we talk about how bad the Braves are right now?
The Braves are awful.
Braves are bad. Twins are bad right now too.
There's a lot of good teams that are bad. The Yankees, I mean,
the Royals have the best record in baseball.
Yeah, I think the Yankees get hyped up every year because they're the damn Yankees, and they really don't have that much to get hyped up about. Like, outside of Garrett Cole, you've got basically no rotation. So I'm just tired of all the Yankees hype. I'm glad they finally got dropped in those power rankings. Nice to see. But yeah, the Royals having the best record in baseball, I don't think anyone saw that coming. I kept talking about them in the offseason, though. I loved what they were doing. Didn't think they were going to.
And it was simple things. It wasn't anything like.
No, it was like friggin' Michael Taylor. Like little things. And I loved it. I thought it was good for baseball.
They traded for Benintendi.
Yeah, small market team, like figuring out a way to compete. I love it. Need my White Sox to get it together, though, because that's that's not great. But yeah, no, other than that, good week for baseball. Lots of people watching.
Wait, who's in first place in the NL East? Phillies? No, not Phillies.
I believe it's the Mets, actually.
Let me see. It is.
The Mets haven't been all that great either.
It's the Mets. It's the Mets.
Yeah.
It's the Mets with a 9-8 record.
Because nobody's playing good in that division.
Nobody's playing good, yeah.
Yeah, they start. Yeah, they're the Phillies. Phillies are in second with 500, and Mets start a 2-game series against the Red Sox tonight, and they got Jacob deGrom, I think, tonight or tomorrow. So they're gonna either come out away with 2 wins or 1. So they'll hopefully stay above 500.
Well, I mean, the Mets do like to lose when deGrom pitches soon.
They love to.
They don't like to score. DeGrom. So that's true. Maybe they'll lose the deGrom one and win the other one.
And wait, are they playing in the NL or AL?
They're playing in New York.
Oh, they're playing in New York.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So deGrom can still help himself. So
deGrom's gonna throw 9 innings, complete game, maybe give up one run, and then he's gonna friggin' hit a home run or something, and they'll win 2-1, or they'll tie 1-1, and the bullpen will blow it in extras for deGrom because the Mets love to do Mets things.
They love to do that.
Other than that, episode a little bit longer, but we had a lot to talk about. So we appreciate you guys sticking around. If you haven't, make sure to leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Would mean the world to us. And of course, you can find us on social at Dodger Yard, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. We've got Alan, the LA Dodger Dog, who does some cool vlogs on YouTube. We've also got the Baseball Neighborhood podcast. We've also got the LA Dodger Dog Show podcast. We've got weekly reviews up on our website, dodgeryard.com. Keep up with some of your favorite players. I've also been doing game recaps after every game. For some reason, decided to pick it up when the Dodgers were sucking. So you can watch me bitch and complain.
Stop doing it. And
watch me bitch and complain on a game recap every night if that is something you enjoy. Yeah, I've thought about it. I thought maybe I just need to stop doing this for a game. They went in one Saturday, so I'm like, okay, cool. So yeah, you can also find me.
And they should have won Sunday.
They should have won a lot of those games. Should have won last night too. Randy_Radcliffe. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Konu.
Oh yeah, you can go to allmylinks.com/Konu, KONU, and find my social medias on there.
And you can follow me on Twitter at Stingray417.
As always, we appreciate you guys. Hope you have a good rest of your day, morning, night, afternoon, weekend, whatever it is you listen to this, and we will catch you all next week. Bye, guys.
See you later, guys.